Good morning, all. It is May 18th, 2021, here on the Tuesday edition of the Morning Buzz here at 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, New Jersey. Hello, all. I hope it's a good morning for everyone out there. My name is Amanda Marino, and I'm joined alongside Caitlin Aristizabal and Emma Coughlin. How are you guys today?
Excited. Last buzz.
Last buzz of the
Crazy.
semester. I'm bittersweet about it.
Yeah.
I'm happy because it's the end of the semester, but I'm sad because, guys, this is the last Tuesday edition and it's the last one for me.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
so sad. I'm
graduating.
graduating. I don't like that at all. I don't. And I'm going to miss all of you guys, but I'm excited to see what you all do in the future. And I'm not getting any waterworks yet because we still got a show to do. Also, we still have the rest of the week. So good stuff. But before we get into our show, which is going to be a special show today, later in the show, we actually have a special interview with Chris Kunish, who I hope I pronounced his name right, who is actually the owner of a popular spot called Allendale Bar and Grill in Bergen County. So that's going to be exciting to talk about kind of like how restrictions have been during COVID with being in a restaurant and maybe talking about the minimum wage and stuff like that. And otherwise, though, before we get into the rest of the show,
this news is brought to you by 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair.
Good morning. President Biden announced the U.S. will be sending 80 million doses to countries in need. But experts say it isn't enough. The U.S. has a supply of about 400 million to 520 million. President Biden announced that the U.S. will be sending 80 million doses of the coronavirus vaccine to countries in need, but experts say it isn't enough. The U.S. has a supply of about 400 million to 500 million doses of the vaccine, according to the New York Times. There is no plan to send any more doses out as of yet. However, the U.S. does plan to send 60 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine once it is cleared by the FDA. Violence in Gaza is continuing as Palestinians across Israel go on strike in protest. President Biden expressed his support for a ceasefire on Monday. However, he did not condemn the actions of Israel, unlike several other countries. There is still no end in sight, and there is fear that protesters could soon escalate and spread the conflict. Governor Murphy signed an executive order on Monday to drop the outdoor public mask mandate in New Jersey. He still says it is too soon to drop the indoor mask mandate, despite every other state adopting the CDC's new guidelines that do not require vaccinated people to wear a mask indoors. It is a beautiful day in Montclair. The sun will be out all day with a high of 81 and a low of 54. So happy summer, everyone. And this concludes your news update for May 18th, 2021. And I'm Emma Coughlin.
Yeah, it is like summer out there, isn't it? It feels like, I don't know, I feel like we jumped to that really fast, which is insane.
Yeah,
It was like cold last week.
It was. We had some warm days, but then it jumped back to like spring, but I guess it's here now. So yay.
Yeah, which like I'm excited about, but like it's just it was so random because I remember like, growing up a lot of times like June would be like still be freezing at times. Like you would have like those days where it was like 50 degrees and you were like it's cold outside. So whatever though. I guess that's the way of living, but I'm not going to complain because I'll take 80 degrees any day and I'll just be chilling. It'll be nice. But
no,
anyway,
I've been waiting for this weather.
Anyway, Caitlin, do you want to hit us with the first story, which was also mentioned in Emma's newscast this morning?
Yes, of course. So NJ.com, of course, we're going to talk about Governor Murphy doubling down on the indoor mask mandate while all the other states choose not to, especially like our neighboring states, New York, Pennsylvania. This is crazy because he said that the outdoor mask mandate has been lifted, but the indoor mask mandate still stands. So you do have to wear a mask indoors, even if you're vaccinated. And that's a pretty big deal, especially because everybody's adopting the CDC guidelines to not wear a mask. And I'm grateful for this. Thank you, Governor Murphy.
Yeah, I mean, I do find this interesting though, because like for majority of the pandemic, like New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and a few other states have kind of been doing the same thing. They kind of followed each other. It'd be like, okay, New York's opening to 25% capacity. Okay, New Jersey's going to do the same, and Pennsylvania will do this. Like, because we were all in the same general area. But now I find this is going to kind of be weird because New York already announced that they're getting rid of it. So did Pennsylvania and Delaware and Connecticut. So what do we think about that? Like, technically, right now, New Jersey is the only state currently in the United States with having a mask mandate still inside.
I mean, that makes me feel better about going back to work, like being with people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I know, Emma, like, does that mean like your like customers don't have to wear a mask anymore at your
No.
place of work?
So honestly, like I haven't really seen that much of a difference. The only time that I saw people without them that was like different was I went to Raymore and Flanagan like over the weekend to help my parents pick out a couch, and it was not required for people to have a mask in there. So some of the like salespeople didn't have them, and then some of the customers didn't. But like it's such a big like showroom that it didn't really bother me because they were like at least 6 feet away like the whole time. Personally, at my work, we still require masks. The only difference is sometimes people are a lot ruder to me when I ask them to put on a mask, but for the most part, people are really understanding. And I think part of that is because of where I live. Like I live right outside of Philadelphia, so people are still pretty like cautious about it. I think if I went like 15 minutes like west, I think it might be a little bit different. People probably aren't wearing masks as much. But right here in Philly, not much has changed. So I kind of find this interesting that it's just New Jersey. I think it kind of depends on the individual areas as well. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, it's important to note from this CDC announcement last week, just because they said you don't have to wear a mask anymore doesn't mean you don't have to. You could still, if you feel uncomfortable or in certain settings you feel uncomfortable, you could still wear a mask. Personally, I'm still wearing a mask unless I'm with a group of friends that I know is like all vaccinated or whatever the case may be, or you're like in a small space, or if you're just like, kind of in like not a crowded area, that's fine. Like I feel like that's a different thing. But for me, like I gotta go back to work. I'm gonna continue wearing a mask even if this gets lifted tomorrow, for instance. Like I'm gonna continue wearing it because I'm coming across people all day that I don't know. And that's the biggest thing. Like when you're with a group of people you can kind of control your setting. But it's like, we can't control the weather. So how can you control like what other people are going to be walking in that might have COVID or might have not wanted to get the vaccine? And I think that's really important to keep in mind.
And then there's like the whole thing too with how do you know, like somebody has to prove that they're vaccinated, they have to show their card because they're saying like vaccinated people don't need to wear a mask and people could just lie. I
That
don't know,
becomes the
like
issue too. And right now we have Ben Petrick that's also joining us, and he will be joining in on this conversation. Ben, we are talking about how New Jersey still currently is the only state with the inside mask mandate still in place. Currently, New Jersey yesterday did allow for outside, which I don't know if you guys thought the same thing, but I thought the outside one was already lifted months ago, like, or not even maybe months ago, but at least a month ago.
I was
yeah, I
surprised to
thought
read
so
that
too.
too.
I genuinely was prepared to have my mask on until 2022. So like, no, that moment where you just weren't paying attention, you're like, everyone's still wearing
Well,
masks.
I think it's interesting too because I don't really remember where this study was done, but I did see a few studies that were being done that said the people that are in hospitals right now or that are still getting COVID, where they're like those numbers are getting counted, it's people that didn't get the vaccine. And that's what's interesting to note too, because for a majority of the time, yes, sure. Could you get COVID still with the vaccine? Yes. But most of the time, you're asymptomatic. So you're only really noticing unless you maybe have like maybe a few sniffles or you're getting tested regularly. And that's what a lot of people are saying. They're getting tested regularly. And then when they're getting tested, then they're like, oh, I'm coming up positive.
See, it's
So
like our general manager, Annabella, always says you either get the vaccine or you eventually get COVID.
yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. And if you get COVID now, the assumption would be then you would just have less symptoms or no symptoms at all. So I don't think it's that crazy. So I don't know. I know Governor Murphy did say in the next few weeks he's hoping to eliminate the mask mandate, but I don't know. I guess we're gonna see. I just find it weird that this was the only state that still has it. because New York's
Wait.
done.
So this would mean that we don't have to wear masks at
No,
all?
it wouldn't be a requirement anymore. Businesses, though, could still do
Sweet.
what they want. So it was released on, I think it was like Friday or Saturday, that, certain, businesses are keeping or getting rid of the mask mandate. Starbucks, Publix, Home Depot, a few other places like that have decided,
Starbucks.
unless the state says otherwise, they're allowed to get rid of the mask mandate in those places. So, like, for instance, if you go into a Starbucks in New Jersey, you're still wearing a mask. But if you go in New York,
It's up to the store.
it's
Like,
up to the
wait,
store.
does that mean like you can go to Starbucks on one corner and they'll require a mask, and then the one a few blocks down won't?
I
Like,
mean,
it's individual choosing.
I think no, because I'm pretty sure at that point Starbucks is like, I mean, maybe the person that's in charge, if they're in charge of like a few different Starbuckses, you know what I mean? Like 5 different Starbuckses in New York, and they decide I want to keep it, like maybe, but I'm pretty sure at that point, like you would just follow what the guidance from the governor is at that point, which is that you don't have to wear your mask.
I feel like I'm gonna be so nervous when New Jersey actually lifts the indoor mask mandate. I'm not ready
and
for
that's
that.
the thing. So like other businesses going to do something different. Like, so Caitlin, you work for like more of a small business, right?
Yeah.
So they might do something different than like, like we just said, a Starbucks. So,
I hope that we keep masks.
So I mean, personally, like
wait, does that mean like planes too? Like if you travel and you go to an airport, people don't have to wear masks? Because that's actually disgusting.
I can.
There's so many people in an airport.
It would depend on the airline, I think, at that point, because
Are you coming to the realization that the world was gonna? You think it's now gross that we're taking off our masks?
Well, here's the thing.
I don't know. It's just weird to think about. Like, we've been wearing masks for so long,
It's
and the people
only
I
been
know
a
who
year.
travel.
It's been 1 year.
Okay, but like
masks.
even the people who are traveling now are wearing masks, so it's just crazy to like.
It would probably depend on the airline, I would think. Because I know it's like weird because you're technically in that tight space. But like, for instance, Delta just announced like a few weeks ago that they're getting rid of the option of there not being someone in the middle seat because they want to sell seats. So like basically there used to be, they wouldn't seat somebody in the middle so that you wouldn't all be on top of each other. Now they're getting rid of that. So
they've done that years ago. That's the worst.
Yeah, honestly.
Thing in the
one
world
thing that the pandemic
was that
is
one guy.
The one thing that
so weird.
The one thing the pandemic has taught me is that there's certain things that I would love to have kept, like the social distancing when you're at like a store or something and the people are on top of you, like, stand back, let me have like some of my personal space, things like that. But yeah. Emma, what were you going to try to say?
I'm going on an airplane on Wednesday or tomorrow. I'm sorry. It's Tuesday. Tomorrow. And we haven't gotten any, like you get the guidelines. I forget what airline it is. I think it's United. I could be wrong. But you get like the guidelines of what you're supposed to do. So like you're supposed to wear a mask on the plane. And we haven't gotten any notifications that that's different. So as of now, I think you do have to wear masks on planes. But if that's not the case, I'll let y'all know.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have to let us know. I think it's definitely, like I said, going to be an
second you
airline.
fly out of New Jersey, everyone's like, whoa!
It's going to be
flying out of PA, so I'm not even in New Jersey.
Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, you're right.
So it's definitely going to be an airline by airline basis, I think, because if Delta made certain rules and then United does something different, it's again, they're all businesses. So they're just trying to figure out what works for them as a company. So I don't know. We're going to see.
That's so interesting. It's
Caitlin, like how'd you get so into masks that it's been 1 year and like you can't fathom what we've been doing for the last 19 years of your life?
I really can't though. I don't know. It's just like
we're going back to normal.
It's probably from like dealing with customers at work too though. Like it's so
scarred were you last year? They really messed you up.
I mean, I agree with Caitlin. I kind of liked the whole like personal space thing. And Amanda said it too. I liked it. It was kind of nice. Nobody wanted to get near you. I didn't want to get near them.
Exactly.
I kind of wanted to go back to what we learned that I can't wait to start doing is because people in China would wear masks when they're in big cities due to the smell, due to the pollution, due to just everything. Just, a lot of people are there. And that I wouldn't mind because I wouldn't mind. I would see myself like, let's say, like sometimes New York is kind of gross. Like I wouldn't mind if like I'm not feeling like getting sick, putting on a mask while I'm in New York. Like if I have someplace to be the next day, if I go to New York, that's a good idea now to wear masks that we learned But like,
Also,
yeah,
if you're sick too, like, and you're going to work or something, but like not sick enough to like call out, but like
you use it
to
for
like
now
spread your
convenient
germ.
reasons.
You put on a
Like,
mask, you don't get anybody else sick, and you can still go to work. I don't know. I think they'll
yeah,
be around for
there's
sure.
now so many uses for it that can be super responsible. But when I'm around the same people that I work with in the tight quarters,
I
like,
mean, that's something to think about too. Like going back into like, all right, take an office building, for instance. You're basically working with the same people, and how many people are actually coming into your building that are not like part of your
Mhm.
workforce? You know what I mean? Like, so then it's you're controlling your environment. If you know that everyone's vaccinated, what's the point? You don't need to wear it if like you know who you're with.
yeah, and
But
how often before this virus did you not even consider the fact that that person could get you sick?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
Well,
mean,
that's what I mean. Our whole mentality has changed.
I think it really is just going to depend on where your position is. Like me and you, Caitlin, like we work, and I'm pretty sure Ben, I don't know if he still works at Domino's, and Emma, we work with the general public. You're coming across people you don't know. So like, I don't know, that would make me want to just continue wearing a mask just till like I at least feel safer.
I
But
mean, like, I know, like, for my job, like, when I'm around my friends at work, like, we'll take down our masks, like, to eat and stuff around each other, because at least that's how it was last summer, because we were just, it was like me and like two other people that, like,
mhm.
I knew and that they weren't going out. But then at the same time, a couple of my coworkers got COVID. I didn't, but, like, I don't know. It's still scary.
Going, well, first of all, that means if you didn't get it, they didn't get it at work. So,
Well, I know they didn't get it at work, but I could have gotten it from them, but I didn't.
yeah, you're right. But
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I just think that we've all been super scarred from the how the mask was gonna be the thing. But isn't it the mask protected people that had COVID from giving COVID more than it protected you from
Yes.
getting it? Yeah,
I will
That's why, like,
say
vaccinated people don't need to.
I
yeah.
will
So like,
say with everything opening up, like I've been seeing a lot of concerts like starting to come back, like, you know, with touring, and I've been seeing like, you know, obviously Broadway shows are coming back, all that kind of stuff. That's where I'm getting a little more worried, where you know you're going to be in a tight space, and then it's just like, oh, I thought kind of masks were going to be here while we were testing the waters with this, and then we were going to go
well,
forward.
that's one of those that you go at your own risk then.
True.
Yeah.
Like those are you go at your own risk. Like if you don't care about the consequences, that's how it. Oh, I think that this is going to be the new big thing. Is that because we done all we can do to protect you from it? It's at the point where it's like now you kind of go at your own risk. We're not going to be afraid of it anymore. Like we've given all we can give for this. It's time to go back to living lives post COVID now, and I think that's what the world's getting ready to do. And if we keep, and like now, there's so many people that genuinely, even back before, that would not care if they put that themselves at risk. And now they're like, well, now we can allow you because now it's kind of on you if you get it, kind of thing. Like we've done all we can do.
Mhm.
And it's at the point where it's just now everyone goes at their own risk, just like they did before. If you were afraid of being near a
Yeah.
bunch of people before COVID, you didn't go to these things. So now there's just a bunch of more people that are afraid of being near a bunch of people for those consequences.
That's true. It's really just at your own risk. At least that means my Harry Styles concert probably won't get rescheduled again. So
When's your
there's
Harry
that.
Styles concert?
It got rescheduled to October.
Yeah, it won't at this point because
Yeah.
I've been seeing concerts for like July, August, September, so you
Mhm.
probably won't.
Wait, Ben, when's the Luke Combs concert?
December.
He's got some
I,
time.
I would go to
Yeah.
that. I would go to that.
Venues still mandate masks? Like, I don't know where
Yeah,
you're.
is that a business? They can mandate.
Oh yeah, a concert venue. It would be a venue, and also the artist could just, you know, decide to postpone. But think about how much they're losing, like money wise. Them and the record company, they probably would say like, nah, you got to do
Do you
it.
think like different
If you were
artists could
uncomfortable and you were
request
the
that?
artist, you put plexiglass right in front of you. Just problem solved.
People
Well, that's true.
plexiglass.
Yeah, but do you think that the artist could require masks? Like if you have like could Harry
Not the
Styles go to
artist.
MSG and be like, I want everyone to wear masks?
No,
Could you
it's
imagine that
Well, they
artist being
probably
so
could,
square to his audience,
because-
being like, please put on
Because it's like a
masks?
business transaction.
Yeah, Madonna,
Definitely.
I think like requires that like attendees like put their cell phones away. Like they're not allowed to have their cell phones like at the concert. So if like she can do that, I'm pretty sure they could say, I want people to wear masks.
But that's different with the phone thing because that's like, certain venues that you're recording it for something and they want it to be like, they don't want distractions in a sense. But Harry Styles concert or a Luke Combs concert, it's gonna depend on the venue.
Yeah, if Luke Combs told people not to wear masks, remember his audience.
Well, that wouldn't work. That's what I mean, though. Like artists have like Harry Styles' audience would probably be down to wear masks.
But still, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that would. If you pull one of those moves of don't put your phones away, it's just as bad as put on a mask.
How do you prevent people from putting their phones? Like when I went to the VMAs, they put our phones in these little pouches and they lock them.
Well, that's on television. That's
because you're on
exactly. But how do you do that for a concert? Like, do they take your phone? Do they lock it? Like
exactly.
Because they don't want it like out there before other people sometimes, like if they're filming it for something like Netflix, things like that.
Yeah, it made sense for the VMAs.
I know I went to go see, this is pre-pandemic, obviously. I went to go see the Jimmy Fallon show and we had to hide our phones and we couldn't because it was something that was going to air later that week. And
all the live tapings are like that.
Take pictures or anything or videos because then we would be like, saying what happened prior to.
Yeah, if they see you, they kick you out.
Yeah. But anyways, because we've been talking about a lot of COVID news, with specifically COVID and masks and stuff, let's talk about something else that came out big during COVID. And that is the idea of bringing up the $15 minimum wage. Now, I know we probably all have our opinions on this and such. Last week, McDonald's actually announced that they're raising their wages. Unfortunately, it's not to $15 like most people would want. It's going to kind of range from $11 to $17 an hour for entry level. Obviously, depending on your location, because certain states have a requirement that you have to be paying a certain amount. But it's interesting to note that they're one of the ones that isn't like kind of like falling into doing the minimum wage, like raising it to 15. Like places like Starbucks and Best Buy and a lot of those other kind of places are already at that $15 minimum wage. So this is just like a really interesting thing to kind of just talk about and what you guys think about it.
Wait, hold on. What restaurant did you just compare?
What restaurant?
You compared McDonald's workers' wages to Best Buy and Starbucks.
Well, I'm saying
your answer is provided right there.
Well, I'm making the point that it's still a job that it's like a lot of times would be a minimum wage. Target's $15, things like that. Like a lot of companies have already started to that. And it's something important to note because this is an article from the New York Times. The person that they interviewed during it said that the person has been making for 8 years is only making $9.40. $9.40 and have been there for 8 years. And you could say whatever you want about, it's McDonald's, whatever, but that's ridiculous. And I kind of wanted to just hear your thoughts about the minimum wage. Kind of, do you think this is crazy? Do you think this is like a good thing? Like, what do you guys think?
Well, $9 is crazy because I know, everybody's different, but New Jersey's minimum wage is 12 now, I think. Is it not?
Yeah. It was at 11 last year, and I believe it's raised up to 12 now.
Yeah, it goes up a little every year.
Because we're getting to the goal of 15.
Right? Isn't like the max going to be 15 soon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
PA is still at like $7.75, I think.
Oh my God.
Yeah, which is not great.
We're wealthy over here, guys. Should I say?
We just have a higher cost of living.
I mean, I get like with the PA thing, it's a different price of living than New Jersey. It's a lot cheaper to live in Pennsylvania than it is like New Jersey, and we could all say that. Yeah. But at the same time, $7.75 is also just not a lot to live on anyway. Like, why isn't it at like at least $8 or $9? Like, come on. And it's been at 7 something for a while now. Like,
yeah,
come on.
It should at least be double digits. Everybody should at least be making double digits.
Well, 10. And the thing is like, I feel like I know the arguments against the $15 minimum wage across the board, and I understand it. But at the same time, I just think, like, from my own personal experience, like, I've seen people who work so hard and can't really, like, afford to, like, get basically what they need based on what they're paid. And that's not okay.
No, it's not. No, not at all.
So I don't know what the perfect answer is to that, but it's something that needs to be fixed for sure. So because I mean, I do work for a small business, and I understand like they can't always pay, you know, people a good amount of money because they can't afford it. But then at the same time, like I kind of ask myself, like, well, if you can't pay your employees, then can you be open? But I don't know if that's
Well,
fair
you got to
either.
remember, it's part of the job description. If you have to pay for your kind of house that you live in, you got to know how much that's going to cost you. You got to know you got to get the right jobs or sometimes take on two. Because if you're at the point where you have to work at a McDonald's or a Domino's and that's what you have to do, you got to be prepared that those jobs don't pay a lot. And you have to be able to understand that you got to move forward from that. That's just pure.
But where
Well,
do we draw the line with that too? Because that
yeah,
also goes into the idea of, we're still, a lot of kids are still paying off or adults, I'm sorry, adults are paying off their student debt still from colleges that they attended. And people are working teaching jobs and stuff and have to pick up a second job at said, maybe a McDonald's or a Domino's or a Krispy Kreme or wherever else you're wanting to work. So the fact is, why, you can go get an education, you can go get that, like, I went and got a degree, I got a master's, whatever, and you could get a lot of more jobs open up to you, but it doesn't mean you're going to get paid the proper amount either. Like, I don't know if you've checked out teachers' salaries in a while, but teachers don't make a lot. So a lot of them have to work summer jobs and things like that. And to me, that it's just ridiculous that then we're then sitting at like an $8 minimum wage in some places. Like Emma just said, 7.75 in Pennsylvania. That's crazy.
I also think of people too, like those who were formerly incarcerated or people in rehab who like have to restart their lives. It's almost impossible to do right now because no one wants to hire you, and the people who do want to hire you don't pay you enough. So then how can you, get your
Well, all right.
life
This is
together
the
if you're not paid correctly? I mean, there were tons of people who came and worked for my work who were coming out of rehab or something else and it was really kind of like, like my boss did hire them and that's great, but like they're not paid enough to really like get their feet off the ground.
Well, here,
That's
can I
like,
tell you this story, Emma? That will probably, first of all, if you are incarcerated or you have gone through rehab, you've gone through anything, there's always a way up. We've seen it 100 times. It's just harder. Sometimes you deserve it to be harder. You messed up in life, like you've done wrong things, so you deserve it for it to be more difficult than a person that's done everything right. Like a person like Caitlin that is Goody Two Shoes over here deserves to have a easier ride to do things than it should be for a person that
Okay,
just.
I think that's kind of a little bit unfair though to say
How
that
is that unfair? If
that
someone's
they
been
deserve to
doing
have it
wrong things in
harder.
life, shouldn't they have it harder than a person that's done right things in life?
well, I think it's not so much even about it being harder. I think sometimes it's just not fair. Like it's
It
impossible.
isn't fair. You did something wrong. It should be
No,
less
like
fair
it's
for you.
impossible. Like sometimes it's
That's not
really
true.
hard. I
That's not true. I've seen
Okay, but
so
what
many
if
people
what if
go through Domino's and use that job as a stepping stool to get a better job. I've seen a person that was incarcerated for holding drugs for 2 years go through Domino's, work there, and I watched her. And as she did that, she got a better education, used that education to get into the real estate business. And she said she got rejected 17 times getting to that, but she didn't quit. It's harder for her. And I said, that must have been, how'd you keep going? And she's like, because it's gonna be harder for me. People are gonna see my record and be like, I don't want you. And so I gave them a less of a reason to say no. And the second that happens, that is she finally got it. And now she gets paid more than a lot of people that I know. She gets paid very handsomely. It's
and that's,
gonna be harder because
yeah,
you did what you did.
no, that's Ben, I completely agree with you that there are success stories like that, but I'm telling you, I don't think that always happens, and I don't think it's always their fault. I think sometimes there is not enough support provided to them for that can be mental health, that can
yeah.
be any type of help. They're not getting it.
And I
And
think that's specifically one example of an issue. Like, I mean, there's plenty of other reasons why people are working minimum wage jobs. I mean, look at right now, for instance. The economy is terrible. It's terrible. And for me, going out looking for entry level jobs right now, it's hard. They want like 4 years experience for you to work here, which is, don't even get me started on that. That's unreasonable for someone that's just coming out of college. But in that instance, what am I going to have to do this summer? I'm going to have to continue working my part-time job because I don't have money. But guess what? My student loans start. I have other expenses to pay, which is like, yeah, I did my time. I did college. I did that. But and I'm not the only one in that case. I know people that have been out of college for a year or two now and are still struggling to get a good job because it's hard. It's not easy. So,
yeah,
like, I feel like that's the same thing. Why should they have to suffer as well with
Well,
like a
the
minimum
world's just
wage?
painful to be successful in. It's
well,
hard.
it's not
Like,
about success, it's about basic needs. It's not about success. It's about having a place to live that is adequate to your needs, basically. It's about being able to pay for food. It's about being able to pay for utilities. I don't think it's really about success for most of these people. I don't think the majority of people working at McDonald's for however many years, it's not about success. It's about just getting food on the table. And that should not be a struggle for anyone in this country, in my opinion. This country has way too much money for its citizens to not be able to put food on the table.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with that. It's just, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to complain because I do make over minimum wage at my job. But that's one instance of a company that you're working at.
Caitlin,
But
nice flex by saying me too, by the way.
But
Caitlin, I just want everyone to
I
know.
mean, it's true.
but like it's ridiculous to me, especially when hearing in this article too with McDonald's, that the person has been making the same salary for like or like less than double digits for 8 years of working there. The point
That's
is when you're supposed to be
ridiculous.
working,
Hear me
you're
out.
supposed
Why
to
do
be
you
The issue should at
ever
least go up
address
$1
it or
every year.
quit? If like I quit one of the best jobs I ever got to work at over money. Like my favorite job to have ever worked at was at the boardwalk, where of course the people that work at that used to be here at the radio station, AJ and Steven also worked there with me. I just worked at a different area. Like that was the most fun, but they didn't pay me enough, so I just said, "Are you going to pay me more?" And they said no, and I walked out. Like it was one of those, and I went and found something that's better. And
I guess I
I
feel
looked
like
for a job for 2 months till I
Have
found
that
a better job.
over time you're supposed to make more technically after you be in
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
company
not
for a certain
well.
amount of time.
Of course you are, but some jobs just don't do that. Sometimes it's not. It's not like a when you get a job. It's not like unless it's in your contract when you get a job, they don't have to give you a raise. They really don't. They never had to. It's not an obligation, and it never was. We have to, so they never did. So I was like, I'm peacing out. Bye.
So now, question for you, Ben. Then, so because you've been playing like the other side, I feel like with this discussion about like the minimum wage thing. So if let's say something within the next year, like within the Biden administration, it's a federal minimum wage is $15. You have a problem with that?
No, it's just I bid everyone trying to get a job good luck because there's gonna be a lot less jobs. That's just how it is. I don't mind either way because there's always gonna be a job available if you really think about it. But I just think there would be more jobs for people younger than us. So I think that I don't mind that adults get 15 of a minimum, but it's so difficult to get kids jobs, I believe it will become, because then do you really want to trust a teenager that's on their phone for $15 an hour? And that's something that I've noticed for small businesses, not really corporate, but really mostly small businesses. I don't know if I'll see it or not. I'm not sure. And frankly, I'm past that. So I'm not sure what will happen, but I would be very nervous if I was a parent with a child that's going to start needing a job soon. And then look, that's going to be even harder for them. It's harder to get a job because the businesses will be like, I don't want to shell out as much money. So it's going to be one of those things. It's going to be harder to work over 40 hours, which is going to be unfortunate.
That's children shouldn't be working 40 hours, Ben.
Yeah.
I worked 100 hours as a 16-year-old.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm
Hey,
just saying
that
though,
car,
that's not
that
normal.
that car that I got to buy right when I turned 17 was pretty cool. I actually bought it before I was 17 because I worked so many hours.
See, but that's luxury too. It's like the whole thing. Like if you're a kid that's working to help your family out, Like, you shouldn't have to be. You shouldn't be working because you have no other option because your family can't afford things. Like, even if your parents don't have like really amazing jobs, even if your parents work at like McDonald's, they should be able to, like we were saying, like put food on the table, have basic utilities. Like, they shouldn't require their child to work. Like, if your kid wants to work, that's fine. Because I wanted to work when I was young because I just wanted to work.
We already have that. Isn't that welfare? No, just what it is.
What do you mean? Like that you can get like food on the table and stuff like that?
They pay for you. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard to get into those programs too. Like the government
because
doesn't
they're
make
giving
any
you
Yeah, they
money
don't
to
just
live your life.
They don't just hand that out to everyone. It's like
Yeah, they
almost
don't
like
want to.
it's like almost like I'm sure you all filled out, like the FAFSA when you guys went to college, like because
Oh,
you
they
need
ask
like
so many
financial aid.
questions.
They ask so many questions and they'll be like, you could afford college, and it's like, no, I can't. Like
Yeah.
my parent makes X amount of money and like they or whatever. I don't have the money to attend college. Or they'd be like, oh, you have siblings. Cool. You have to have enough money. And it's like, no, that's not the case. And it's the same idea. People like the government kind of a lot of times thinks we have enough money to survive, and that's not true. And you need like special access to sometimes get into these programs or like be considered like, making not enough money. And that's not, it's just truly not fair. And I'm not saying that everything has to be fair, but it's just like, why are we still looking at states that have a minimum wage of under $10? That's like crazy to me.
It is. It's as a person who lives in a state where it's below $10, it is an issue. And I understand what you're saying about with the kids, Ben. I understand because yeah, I mean, I was somebody who wanted to work too when I was like 16. But I think that like something like that would be sort of an exception too, where it's like if you're under 18, like you don't have to get paid $15 an hour, which really wouldn't be a big deal because if every adult is getting paid $15 an hour, then
it would make sense for the kid to make less. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be fine. Like, I don't think anybody would have a problem.
And you do that, and then they'd hire a bunch of kids, and then adults would get jobs, and we're right back to square one. But
true, to save money.
The question is yeah. So if you go up, you're losing people's opportunities, especially younger people. And then if you go down, you open up younger people, which hurts the old people, and that's why we raised minimum wage, because people that were older couldn't afford to live by themselves. So with every pro, there will always be a super con that will show, and then we'll complain about it until it's changing, and then we're gonna go back, and then they're gonna do complaining, and then it'll be there's always a con, and that con is the worst thing to ever happen on this planet when it affects us.
I'm going to bring up
complain about it.
Something else though, Ben, because also during the pandemic, we did face like a lot of like shortage of staffing because people went on to unemployment and stuff, and because they didn't feel safe to work or whatever the case may be. Now, a lot of times restaurants and all these other places are saying they don't want to come back, like because, staffers like, I'm making more on unemployment. Like, why would I come back? And I'm not getting treated fairly at my job, and I'm not getting, enough money. So
get another job and then leave.
In that case, I feel for the people, because why should they go back to a job where they don't feel
you do what I did? You get another job and then you peace out. I did that at a different job. I got treated like crap at one, and then I got another job, and then when I got the other job in hand, I pieced them out. And then I dipped.
That's not as easy for everyone too. I mean, not everybody lives in a populated area like New Jersey or New York where there is a lot more restaurants and like, stores and places to get hired. Like a lot of people like, might live in like the middle of the country where, something there might not be like it's not like crowded.
It's not like it
Manhattan.
takes 20 miles to get to the next city by horseback in other,
okay,
states.
Then, no, I know, but how are they affording gas or the transportation to get to said place if they don't have the job to?
I'm aware, but if it's okay, you get another job and you figure it out. Like you go and you look for other jobs and you stay at yours, so there's still the income at your crappy job, and you go until you find one that fits your criteria. That's how it's always been.
I'm gonna interject here for a minute. I do have a friend. She's 31 years old. She has 2 children. She just left my job because she was being treated poorly. She started another job immediately, which was great that she got that job. She was again treated poorly, so she had to leave. She's now working as a Lyft driver, which is not enough to provide for 2 kids. Luckily, she does have people to help her, like friends, but I mean, she's having trouble finding another job. So it's not always that simple. And I mean, she's she's a great
It
worker.
isn't easy to find another job. It's not what I'm saying. But you sometimes, most of the time, I don't know how bad she was treated, so that's not, I don't know. I don't really, that's not my story. But if she had to leave right there, like she could not work anymore at that place, sometimes that happens. That's different. It is hard to get a job, but most of the time, you stay at that job, even though it stinks, until you get another one. That's what you do. So you always have flowing in income. And then you go to the next job. You don't just quit and unless you
I
absolutely have to, because it is, I'm not saying it's easy to find another job, but it's not as hard because there is always something there, just you never know. And I've lived in a town called Leamington that you guys have never heard of that has 2,000 people. And even then, I said there's always another chance for another job. And now I'm in Tom's River where it's super easy. But in over in Leamington, it's like miles to go to the next one, but there's always a chance. There's always something there. You just gotta look for it. And then for all you know, you love it. Like you never know. I've been a maid, I've been a
I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. I don't think there is always something for everyone. I don't think everyone is given the same opportunities that you were given. And that's, that's not
I
you.
mean,
That's just, I think the way that it is right now.
that's almost thinking back to Emma, our conversation we had a few weeks ago when we had the 2 guys from career services on, because we were talking about like bias in the workplace and things like that, and talking about like how it might be harder and difficult for someone of color or anything else to come into play with that stuff too. So if you're talking about someone that I mean, no offense, Ben, but you are a white male right now, or I mean, as I know of. So I mean, when you look at that, it might be a
how
little.
were you able to tell?
It's a
Where'd you gather that
Well, I'm
information
telling
from?
for the people that may not are
Are
listening on the
you assuming
airwaves.
something there,
I'm
Amanda? Are you
assuming.
assuming? Are you assuming? Listen, I can be what I want to be. So don't you dare go assuming what you think I
But
am.
in all fairness, though, for anyone that is listening on the airwaves or anything like that, Ben is a white male who
I
might have.
again, can I say it?
All right,
Who's
Ben,
giving
say it.
you the right? I'm a white male, but
So,
who's giving you? All
so
right,
my
you kind
point
of
be
the
my
second that you started going, I knew you're gonna have to deal with that for the next minute. But
so my point being though, it might be a little easier for you to get
it
a
is
job.
100% way easier. I'm not saying it's not. I'll never say it's not. And 100%, I have the easiest route over most everyone else, and it's very convenient. And I I don't think it's right, and it's convenient. It's convenient, but it's not right. It
So
shouldn't be
then
like
I
that.
think
Everyone
with
should have an equal chance. I
I
think
think
the genuine thing is I always say that the best person should get the role that they want. It should be just like how it is in everything.
So I think with
But
saying that, Emma was proving that yeah, it might be for you, it might be as simple as, here, like, let me walk in and hand in an application and I'll get a job. And I'm not saying that's exactly the way that it was for you, but it's not always the same situation with other people. And that was
at
what
the
Emma
end
was
of the
saying.
day, hearing the stories that I've heard from because listen, I worked at 2, 3 jobs where it was a job that I needed money and I was working with people that have seen things and been through things that have creeped me out. I've seen drug dealers, people that have been around murderers. Like I've been around people that I'm like, once they tell me their story, I'm like, I need a couple days away from you. I know you're a nice person, but you're creeping me out. And like you seem nice, but I'm never talking to you again. And one of those, and the stories are all the same. And these people are ranging of ethnicities, males, females, they're all different that have all had a thing in life where it's been difficult. And I never ever will say that it's not easier for me being a white male who just goes to school and goes to college and is just normal until you meet me. So it's one of those I'll never say that, but every single story is the same. If you have it more difficult, it's going to be more difficult. And I always will wish and I'll always wonder that it's so much more difficult for some other people because of what the cards they've been dealt, the things there. But every single story is the same. If you go for it and you really, there is always going to be a way out, and it's just sometimes it's harder for others. And I do agree with what you said, Emma, that some people shouldn't be going through that much. They shouldn't be such an adversity to go through. But with there being that, there is always a way out. They always said there always, and it's just so much more difficult than you think. And I always am like, well, that I don't know what to tell them. I give them I give them a brownie. It's the only thing I can give them and be like, I'm sorry. And it's some of them are so amazing that I'm like, I could never do what you did. But there is always a way out. And that's what I would like people to know. There is always going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to work for it. And unfortunately, I think all four of us in this room never really had to experience that, and we never want to, and you never should be, but there is a way out.
And I think with that
Okay.
final,
I should just went to commercial break like that.
and I think with that
Advice.
final note from Ben, we are going to take a quick break here on 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, New Jersey. Stay tuned. Yes, that is right. You could listen to the Morning Buzz here on Spotify and Apple, as well as YouTube and Facebook daily. But while we took a quick break, I did want to give some quick facts to throw into the conversation that we did have earlier about some of the COVID updates. So when we said the only state with the masks and such, we are the only state in the Northeast. California still has a mask mandate in place, so that is important to note. As well as for transportation, like public transportation, it is still required. And that was something I missed, and I wanted to throw it in there. So that
Unbelievable, Amanda. Your journalistic integrity has just been put into question. Unbelievable.
Actually,
How
no,
dare
because
you spread lies like that? You know what? You're fake news, Amanda.
Anyways, so
hey, Amanda, I appreciate you.
We are going to do this next story that Caitlin brought to talk about. Caitlin, what's going on with this cat?
I got really scared when you came back from break because I couldn't hear anything because my AirPods are stupid. And then I was like, I saw that you were talking and I was like, I hope she's not talking to me. So you weren't. But anyway, so I saw this story and it has to do with saving a cat. And I think that was very wholesome and we need good news. So
we love good news.
Isaac Yiadom, who was a Giants player, rescued, there was a cat stuck in his Maserati undercarriage and he called the fire department to save it. And it's so cute. I'm going to share my screen. So if you're on YouTube or Facebook Live, you can see it. Screen share.
Yeah, and
it's so cute.
For anyone that's not watching, you could always tune into our Facebook or YouTube later to see the image that Caitlin's about to show.
So it says the firefighters jacked up the Maserati and partially disassembled the car to reach the small cat. And that's just crazy to me. Like I didn't realize they took apart the car because somebody in the Facebook comments was like, thank you for sacrificing your car. Although I think his car is fine, but it was just funny. Look at how small it is.
Oh, that's so cute. We love the good news.
But the car's in a garage too, so I don't even know how the cat get in there. It's hot. It's in Florida, so it's hot too. He said he was in Florida.
The garage could have been open,
was
maybe.
Like, why did maybe the cat was looking for shade? But cats like the sun.
No, not necessarily. It's too hot for them sometimes.
When you have that much fur in Florida, it gets a little hot.
I mean, fair. For sure. I was gonna say there's this cat that lives next door to me that it's an outdoor cat, so it sometimes will just hang out outside, just on the porch or whatever. And it will, when I come home from school or work or whatever, sometimes the cat will literally just sit in my parking spot. Or maybe when I'm going to my car, will hide under my car. So I'm always so worried that when I will pull up to my spot that I'm gonna she's gonna be trying to get under there or anything like that too. So that's always so worrisome. And it's something they do because they're sometimes trying to look for protection or shelter. If it's raining, sometimes they want to get away from the rain, things like that. So it's not a rare thing to see, but we love this good story, this good news story.
Well, can you go back to the picture of the cat being carried by the guy?
Why?
I want to see it again.
I feel like that's worrisome.
That cat looks like it's preparing for its mugshot. It's like, the cops got me. It's so disappointed.
It's not even a cop though. It's a firefighter.
I thought I was gonna get away with it. And it looks so disappointed that it got caught. It was just probably
Cat?
just didn't want to help. Yeah, the cat's like, oh man, they really got me this time.
These stories always scare me a little bit. I have an outdoor cat myself, and I'm like his person. And I don't know if you can see. This is him. It's turned off. But yeah,
That's such a cute picture.
but I always worry about him because I don't always know where he is, and it makes me nervous. What if he gets stuck in a car and I don't know where he is? Stress me out.
Firefighters will save him.
Your cat. What?
True.
From what we've gathered, firefighters will get him.
I guess. Hopefully, whoever would find him would tell somebody. I hope. I don't know. He's also a lot bigger than that cat. I mean, my cat is like huge, so I don't think he'd actually fit in a car like that. But
Your cat would be struggling to get in. It'd be like,
yeah, he's pretty
I'll
large.
give up halfway through.
my cat just sits on our couch and meows at everyone that sits on the 3-seater couch, and she's on the far left.
That's
So
cute.
yell at anyone that sits down.
Oh.
Like, well, why? And she'll just be like, round. Like, all right, geez.
love
Then I get up and have a bad seat.
So
Like, she wouldn't.
Cats rule the world.
they do. Go around the world, cats. All right. So before we kind of wrap up the show today, we have this last story that we're going to touch on. Some odd news, of course, because we always have to have like an odd story in the show. So a 111-year-old Australian recommends eating chicken brains.
That's weird.
Well, it's odd news. So this is, of course, courtesy of AP News. Retired cattle rancher Dexter Kruger on Monday marked 124 days since he turned 111, a day older than World War I veteran Jack Lockett was when he died in 2002. But Kruger told Australian Broadcasting Corporation in an interview at his nursing home that the way to long life and longevity, chicken brains, quote, chickens have a head, and in there's a brain, and they're delicious little things, end quote. And then another quote from him.
What a profound statement.
There's only one little bite, end quote, again. So, and then, of course, John Taylor, a founder of the Australian Book of Records, confirmed that Kruger is the oldest ever Australian man. So what do we think? Do we think the real way of living longer in life is eating chicken brains?
No.
It might be, but I'd rather not live.
Yeah, I'd rather not do it.
How old is he?
But good for him.
111.
Oh, but good for
Do you
him.
think that I don't think
good
that
for him.
chicken brain was the reasonable source of his longevity?
Okay. Well, I mean, but the people say a lot of things. They always say like, oh, if you have a little bit of chocolate every day, that's the key.
You saw the same video on social media, didn't you?
What? No, I've seen that like for years. I've always seen that like chocolate, or people always have like different things that they like. Oh,
or like a glass of wine.
a glass of wine. Yeah, like there's always this like key.
Well,
right? Like,
isn't a glass of wine good for your heart though?
yeah, probably a certain amount.
Yeah, that's
of
what
it,
they're
not
that's what
like,
they're
not
saying.
like drinking
Thank
the
you,
whole
Kenny.
bottle. You drink in moderation.
No, you drink the whole bottle, Kenny. Not in moderation. You just drink the
everything
whole
in
bottle. And
moderation
boom,
is
your heart's
good.
perfect.
Basically, everything in moderation is good.
I think
You have a super heart if you just chug a bottle.
That's what I always say though. Everything in moderation, no matter what it is.
Unless it's water, then drink a lot of water.
Yes.
Actually, if you drink too much water, it's bad for you.
Yeah, that too. But
yeah.
With all of this though in mind, do you guys think you have like a key to living? Like, do you guys think, has there been something that's maybe passed down in your family that's like, the key of living longer in life is, said glass of wine, does anybody like have anything like that?
No, but my mom plans to live to be 100. I'm sorry. I don't have anything. My mom wants to live to be 100, and that's just her life goal. I don't know how she's gonna do
My
that.
mom's goal is, my mom always told me ever since I was young, don't die. And that's what I use. Just don't die. Just don't die. No. So when I went out, like I would go out and like I would literally just like start to like say things completely worse than what I was going to do. So I'd make it the things that I do not sound as bad. So I'd walk out and be like, oh, I'm gonna go start a riot, and then just walk out. And then I come back, and then I would have been past curfew, but I'd be like, well, I didn't cause an uproar. So, but then And then she caught on to that. So now my new thing is she just yells, "Don't die." And I was like, all right, bet. I could be incarcerated, but I didn't die. I'll be fine. Like,
My
listen, I followed the rules.
I didn't die.
I didn't die.
My great grandmother, she lived to be 101, I think. Yeah.
Oh.
And we're actually not biologically related because my mom is adopted, but she rode like a stationary bike pretty much until she was 99, I think, every day. So, I mean, that probably helped. So that's always been my thing where I'm like, all right, when you're like, I don't know, 40, make sure you get a bike and
You start exercising. Make sure when you
Yeah.
get to a certain age, you start that exercising that everybody's been saying your whole life you should be doing.
I kind of do it now, but like lately it's like I don't have time. I have all these finals and classes
Yeah.
and it's impossible. But maybe when I'm 90 I'll have time.
Well, here on 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, New Jersey, I think we'll have to see. I mean, luckily we are, I think I'm, am I the oldest one out of all of you? 21? I'm 21. How old are you guys?
20.
20.
20.
Oh, okay. So I guess we'll have
How
to
would
see.
I have ever guessed your age?
I know, same to you. Our birthdays are back to back.
Oh, really? That's so funny.
I was born then 15 hours later. Unfortunately.
This is true. We had a little combined birthday. It was cute.
That's
Oh, yeah.
fun. That's fun. I
So,
love that.
Amanda, I have to say,
Mhm.
you have officially passed the school of me completely roasting you at every little thing you do.
I know. This is
Congratulations.
crazy.
You
This
did
is
it.
crazy. Yes, for anyone that missed the beginning of the show, this is my last Tuesday edition of the Morning Buzz, where I'll be hosting with Caitlin and Ben roasting me, and of course the lovely Emma.
What are you doing? How is that comfortable? Just like,
I'm stretching my arms.
what is stretching? You can't crack your arm like that. You're actually reducing your ability to really get
and for anyone that's
man.
not watching on Facebook, I just stretched my arms and Ben freaked out.
You can crack your arm. How do you guys do that? Every time I go in, no, it's the fact that she's like this. Like she's like this, which can crack, but it looked like you're like here and like going in, and I don't know how you.
Well, I will say since
Is
this is my last Tuesday buzz, I want to like have my pedestal for a second, Ben, if that's okay with you. I just want to thank you guys for a great semester. I hope you guys all finish finals well, and I can't wait to see what you guys do with the buzz in the summer and the fall. So I'm excited to see what comes with all of you guys, and you guys were a great joy to share the semester with. So thank you. With that, here on 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, New Jersey, my name's Amanda Marino, and I was, of course, joined with Caitlin Aristizabal, Emma Coughlin, and Ben Petrick. Hope you all have a great day, and stay tuned for the Morning Buzz tomorrow at 8 to 9. Have a great day.
I'm always last.